All right, another edition of the Litigation Psychology Podcast, this one being video by Courtroom Sciences. And we have Bob Tyson on the line here. Bob, how are you doing over there in San Diego?
I am doing just great, Bill. Thank you.
You're my third podcast of the day, and I apologize for it being so late, but you are 3 hours behind. Couple quick questions, because we're going to limit these to about 15 minutes.
Okay.
You and I were on a roll about 2 months ago. You had your book, I had my article, we're doing speeches on this stuff, and then everything comes to a grinding halt. My concern is that COVID-19 is distracting the defense bar from the key topic, which is the nuclear verdict topic, which is what your book is all about. What are you seeing with the attention span and where the focus is right now? And do you have any concerns?
Yeah, no, I don't really have any concerns, but I will admit, I see why the attention span and focus has changed, though. I mean, the world has changed. The good news for defendants out there is that we have done some research, and there have been no nuclear verdicts in the last 30 days.
Yeah, that is.
So I mean, we know why, right? But obviously, it's not going to be on their minds. But what'll be interesting is we did a webinar on what might juries be like, not on coronavirus type cases, but just the first cases that come out of the chute. So it'll be interesting. Like, the one thing that's pretty clear is that nuclear verdicts are not going away.
No,
they're not going away. It's not like, I'd like to think that defense lawyers are spending this time right now reading my book and reading your articles and listening to your webcast, but I don't know if they are.
What is your opinion? And we talked about this when we did the first podcast, which was quite lengthy, about 45 minutes, which I think was just phenomenal. But your opinion—
Well, my mom thought it was a little bit long, which was a bad sign. When my mom said it was good, but it was a little long, Bobby. I was like,
But there's so much important information to share, Bob.
So
I mean, come on.
We could have gone twice as long.
Actually, we can, and that's why I want to keep doing these with you, to keep disseminating all this information that we can. Talk a little bit about the concept, because we talked about this in the other podcast, which I don't think is getting near enough attention. The nuclear settlement as opposed to the nuclear verdict. I think this is a real danger, because some of these crazy, particularly from the reptile folks, the crazy demands coming out, and the plaintiff's bar essentially saying, I got you right here. You're going to pay X amount for this case. Otherwise, you're going to be on the front page of the New York Times. Kind of, where do you see the whole nuclear settlement issue going?
Yeah, I mean, they have a gun to the defendants, the insurance company's head. Plaintiffs lawyers, they're good, man. They're good at what they do, and they're good at letting the world know what they do. So the other thing is, try to get a confidential settlement. Back in the day, they didn't care if it was confidential or wasn't. They wanted their third or their 40%. Now, they don't want a confidential settlement, because typically, whatever their case is, they're thinking, what can I do with this case going forward, right? How am I going to get this on my social media platform?
Yep.
So big settlements, big verdicts, that's great. They'll get compensated for that, but it's really what it does for their cases in the future. So we're seeing a lot of big settlements.
Which is unfortunate, but the reality of the situation. Bob, tell us a little bit about your book and the type of reception it's gotten. Because when I read it, I was like, wow, like, this guy is not holding back. And you pretty much call out the defense bar that, they got to be tougher. They got to be more aggressive. What has been the feedback from defense attorneys based on your publication?
So it's been interesting. The defense attorney's response, even though I've been challenging them, has been fantastic. And I'm not just saying that like the way a politician might say it, like just ignore all the bad stuff. No, universally, It's been wonderful feedback from defense lawyers, many of whom were doing these things, but just hadn't organized it or really taken full stock of what the plaintiff's bar is up to. So the response from defense lawyers has been surprisingly good for me, and concepts. And then the other clients have been great. In fact, many clients are asking their defense lawyers to read it. So I'm getting emails from defense lawyers saying, oh, we've got a mutual client, or ask them to read it. Now, on the other hand, the only bad reviews I've gotten on Amazon have been from plaintiffs' lawyers.
Oh, go figure. Go figure.
So other than plaintiffs' lawyers, very well received.
How, because I was talking to a insurance carrier yesterday that I'm going to podcast with on Friday in the trucking industry. And what we were talking about, he pretty much said, which I totally agree with, and I'd like your guidance on this, is, we can spread the word between, a consultant like me, a trial attorney like you. But until you start talking to the people that are writing the checks, the people that control the money at corporations, insurance companies, how do you get this message to them? Because they are the ones, they're trying to save money, they have budgets, but at the same time, they're the ones that are going to be financing the more aggressive approach. How do you get the message to those people, Bob?
So the message has been going pretty well. I was supposed to be on a plane every week during this pandemic, so I don't mind this little pause. It's okay, but so they were interested. They wanted to hear these ideas, but the problem isn't just defense lawyers. It's the defense industry. The defense industry takes comfort in doing the same things we've always done. And unfortunately, the plaintiffs' counsel is onto the whole defense approach. And so it has been a struggle, and it'll continue to be a struggle. But we're getting in front of them. It's just changing the way they think and the way they approach cases. And the way the defense, including clients, including defendants, has to change radically. It has to change radically. And to date, it's a battle. So the plaintiffs know what we're up to. I mean, I wrote the book. There's the book. It's in that background. You can see it.
It's right there.
They read it. Plaintiffs' lawyers read it. They study their trade. They want to know what we're up to. They don't want to skim it because they know it works. But then you have the whole defense industry that doesn't really want to do it because it doesn't feel right. It's not the way I've done it the last 30 years. The plaintiff's bar wants you to do the same thing you've always done. And to date, the defense industry has been very accommodating. That's got to change.
Well, I'm hoping for some change because that's really what this industry needs. And I'm hoping that between your book, my articles, and doing these podcasts, we can make a difference. But it's going to have to be a persistent message. Bob, a question that's been very popular. I'm getting this stuff via email and just feedback from webinars. How do you see COVID-19 impacting jury decision making, specifically with the trucking industry and the healthcare industry? Is that something that's going to really make a difference, or is it going to be something short term? Because because everybody's calling truck drivers and healthcare professionals heroes. Does that carry over into a jury deliberation?
It can. I really think there's almost two kinds of answers. There are the cases that are going to be heard and go to trial within the next year. And then there's the cases that are going to come out of this, where healthcare providers are being sued for their care during this pandemic. And that may not be heard for years from now. That could be heard 2 years from now, 3 years, 4 or 5 years from now. So our memories as Americans are pretty short. So that's going to be the challenge for defense lawyers, which is to put the juries back in the shoes of today and remember the fear. Remember that feeling when you didn't know how this was going to turn out, right? Like right now. But at some point when these cases go to trial years from now, we're all going to say, oh, of course, we knew it was going to be over by summertime. Or, oh, we all knew there'd be a vaccine, within 8 months. We don't know any of that right now. So the challenge of the defense lawyers is to get that jury years from now back in experiencing the fear and anxiety that we all have today. So it's going to be on us.
Totally agree. Last point, Bob, and we talked about this before, and I want you to plug this because I think it's so important, because I know you got some internal training going on for that younger, everybody complains and they're fearful of millennial jurors. Well, what about millennial attorneys? I have seen a lot of fear coming from, people at your level going, oh, I can't find a good associate, or I can't keep a good associate, or they don't have a good work ethic, or they just don't have the trial experience. What are you doing with your young attorneys to make sure that they can compete with the 30 and 40 something plaintiff attorneys, which, by the way, I think they have far better training and experience than the defense bar when it comes to that particular age group? What are you guys doing?
So we have a whole TM University, Tyson and Mendez University, that's training folks on our methods, really what's in the book. But also, it's gotten delayed a little bit this year. We want to turn out the best trial academy that there is. And in fact, once we do it internally, just like we did, the book is a result of internal training that we've decided to share with the industry, even though no other defense lawyer has ever written a book.
Never.
No.
Never.
And defense lawyers, we share nothing with each other, right?
No,
so
none.
We're sharing it. And our hope is, to have, this isn't fair because he's an icon and he's brilliant, but, a Jerry Spence type of trial academy for the defense. To achieve that would be unbelievable. So we want to do something internally, make it be top of class to train these millennial attorneys who just aren't getting the trial experience, and then maybe take that out, roll that out.
Agree. Hey, Bob, thank you so much for being on the podcast. We'll do this again soon, I promise. And stay safe out there in San Diego.
Thanks, Bill. You too. Thanks for all the work you're doing. Appreciate it.
Thank you too, Bob.